Welcome back. The Senate House Committee on Niger Delta says it's concerned about the increase in abandoned projects being supervised by the Niger Delta Development Commission. The report of the Ministerial Technical Audit Committee on contracts awarded by the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs shows that between 2009 and 2015, the federal government spent over 700 billion naira on 427 contracts and achieved only 8% impact.
The Niger Delta extends over about 70,000 square kilometers and makes up 7.5% of Nigeria's land mass. It consists of present-day Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Cross River State, Edo, Imo, and Ondo states. NDDC was established in 2000 with a mission of facilitating the rapid, even and sustainable development of the Niger Delta into a region that is economically prosperous, socially stable, ecologically regenerative, and politically peaceful. This goal, however, appears to be what it is, a goal hampered by corrupt practices that has led to projects being abandoned. The Senate Committee on the Niger Delta, led by Senator Peter Nwoboshi, says the committee is in Delta State to carry out an oversight function on the NDDC with special focus on abandoned NDDC projects in the state.
From the facts we have, 20% of the total projects so far done or awarded in Niger Delta by Minister of NDDC is in Delta State. And we have on our records that about 14.6 billion of those projects have been abandoned.
He says that a public hearing on the amnesty program would be organized to tackle the new wave of militancy in the region.
A lot of money has been spent on the amnesty program. From the beginning of about 120 billion to 80 billion, now to 65 billion, now to 20 billion. If you add all the money that have moved into the amnesty program, we wonder whether this crisis and this bombing of our pipelines will still be on.
Governor Ifeanyi Okowa decries the poor state of infrastructure in the Niger Delta, as well as the unrest in the region. He is asking for proper funding of the NDDC and wants projects to be awarded on merit.
When projects are actually given to incompetent, creates a lot of challenge. We know that there are projects that can be given to small contractors, but when major projects are given to persons who would ordinarily not be able to do the job, it will obviously create a problem.
The lawmakers are assuring Nigerians that after a thorough investigation, a holistic report will be sent to the Senate and hopefully proper restitutions will be made.
The United Nations Children's Fund has warned that famine-like conditions in some parts of the northeast could kill 75,000 children over the next year if they do not receive aid. UNICEF clarifies that the children are in 3 states, including Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. The agency adds that 400,000 children aged under 5 would also suffer from severe acute malnutrition in those states. UNICEF has increased the sum sought in its humanitarian appeal to help malnourished children in the region to $115 billion. Million dollars, that is, beg your pardon. This sum represents a 100% rise compared to the previous amount of $55 billion. 3 months after the resurgence of polio in Nigeria, the federal government says it has released over 9 billion naira for the immunization of children against polio and other diseases. The acting executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Mr. Emmanuel Odu, told Channels Television, as well as other journalists in Abuja, that the funds have helped curtail its spread. Nigeria's hope to receive polio-free certification suffered a major setback in July when 3 new cases of the disease were recorded in the northeast. For more on the polio matter, we have in our Abuja studios the acting executive secretary, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Emmanuel Odu. You're welcome to the News at 10.
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
What is the actual situation with regards to the re-emergence of wild polio in parts of northern Nigeria?
Well, once again, thank you very much. We can recall that prior to July this year, Nigeria had successfully interrupted the transmission of wild polio virus throughout the country, as acknowledged worldwide and also confirmed by WHO, which at that time delisted Nigeria from the list of polio endemic countries. Now, even before then, we know that as far back as 2008, we used to have over 700 cases of children paralyzed by the polio disease. That number came down steadily to 122 children by 2012, and by 2014, the number came down to 6 children paralyzed. The last case, as at that time, being one from Samala local government area of Kano State. Then from 2014 till July, there was no case, and we were all happy. And this has been brought about by the concerted effort of all stakeholders, a great political will displayed by the federal government of Nigeria in terms of providing resources, in terms of mobilizing communities, and the activities, the plans being implemented in full and in quality. But by July this year, we had 2 cases of wild polio virus. In fact, between July and August, a total of 3 cases. And in response to that, the federal government had the National Primary Care Development Agency, along with other stakeholders, had mobilized the communities, mobilized resources with the great support by the federal government in terms of resources released and coordination by the leadership of the Federal Minister of Health as well. And we set up a number of outbreak response plans. An immediate response was implemented whereby children under 5 in the 4 contiguous local government areas were vaccinated. That came up with a result of over 800,000 children vaccinated in that round. We followed that very closely with the vaccination of all children under 5 in the 5 contiguous states of the Northeast. The contiguous states are Borno, Yobe, Gombe, Adamawa, and Taraba. And in that process, we, with the support of stakeholders and having mobilized the communities and households, vaccinated a total of 5.9 children under the age of 5 years. 2 weeks after that was the next response activity implemented in 18 states of northern Nigeria, not including Kwara and Kogi. These are the 18 high states, including FCT. And in that situation, we vaccinated a total of 28 million children. So, this has been made possible by resources, adequate resources mobilized by the federal government and released in full. Also, through the support of the federal government, we also have a very effective and strong cold chain system across the country in our 6 zonal cold stores, as well as the National Strategic Cold Store.
Dr. Odu, it seems we pretty much have it covered, in northeastern Nigeria, and for some reason, something slipped through the cracks, and there was that re-emergence in July. But now the federal government is releasing 9.8 billion naira for, the fight against polio. Will that be enough to cover up, some of the lapses that we've had and to prevent re-emergence of the disease?
Well, let me say at this point that the re-emergence of the disease was not particularly due to any unique program weaknesses or inadequate funding on the part of the federal government. No, it is as a result of lack of accessibility to geographic areas that we are hitherto inaccessible. And now with the liberation of the communities, the liberation of some of those geographic areas that we are initially inaccessible, children that didn't really have access to this vaccination. And it is this gap that actually led to the transmission of polio virus in that geographic coverage. So it's not really due to program challenges. It's as a result of the insurgency. It's as a result of inaccessibility. And now the place is being liberated and we are now having access. And even while there were no cases of polio transmission in the period that we did not record the case, we continue to perform the work. We continue to embark on detailed and intensive surveillance for case search so
Dr.
as not to
Odu.
miss any case.
Dr. Odu, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10. Up next is Business News. Here's Emana Amawe.
You first. First Bank.
And thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian debt capital market is one of the strategic sectors that of which the economy of the African Development Bank is providing support. This is according to the president of the AFDB, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, in an exclusive interview with Channels Television this week in Abuja. Dr. Adesina talks on the listed Niger bond, the broad debt market deepening, and why Nigeria should scrutinize its multi-billion-dollar annual diaspora remittances.
Nigeria depends a lot on remittances, but I believe that we need to be more creative on how we use those remittances, because if you take, for example, the case of Ethiopia, Ethiopia built a dam, the Renaissance Dam. It's about 7,000 megawatts capacity. They raised all that money domestically. Right. They also raised it through the diaspora. You take a look at Egypt, the Suez Canal expansion that they had, $8.5 billion. They raised all of that within a week from them. So Nigerians believe in Nigeria, and I believe that what's important now is to move beyond just the remittances, just for dealing with consumption issues, which are very, very important, right? Especially when the economy is so difficult as it is today. However, how can we support it to securitize a lot of those remittances so that it can go actually into infrastructure?
President of the Africa Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it plans to raise 129.67 billion naira through short-dated treasury bills at an auction on Wednesday, October the 5th. The regulator expects to raise 28 billion naira in 3-month paper, 33.49 billion naira in 6-month bills, and 68.18 billion naira in 1-year bills. The CBN expects payment for the purchases to be made next week, Thursday, October the 6th. And it's the third successive week of upbeat performance as the Nigerian equities end the month by 0.31% up, while the markets get set for the fourth quarter. Let's join Millicent Nwaka for details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The last trading in September ended marginally positive as the all-share index and market capitalization rose further by more than 0.25% on the back of price advance by some mid-cap stocks. However, market breadth was negative with 16 gainers against 22 losers on the price table. Top 3 gainers for the day were Farmadeco, NACO and Honeywell Flour Mills, while Caverton, Northern Nigeria Flour Mills and Corn Oil were the 3 most significant decliners. Friday's transaction was lower than the previous session as it recorded a total turnover of 217.8 million shares worth 2.3 billion naira in 2,804 deals. Now, the most traded stocks were banking giants EcoBank, Transnational Incorporated, FCMB and Zenith Bank. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Millicent Nwaka.
Let's now see how other global equities fared. That's business news tonight. Is back to Amarachi.
You first. First Bank.
Next on the news at 10, Enugu Rangers are 1 point away from breaking a 32-year Nigeria Professional Football League title jinx. We'll know about that on Sports News. Please join us again.